found the venue of your dreams. Now you just need to lay out exactly how you want everything to fit in that space for wedding day. That's what we're going to be talking about today, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, and all you need to do is lay out everything perfectly, right?
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. Like
just that one thing.
It's a tiny little thing. I'm sure people can just shimmy around behind the tables.
Right.
And they don't need chairs. They should have standing banquet tables, frankly.
Standing banquet tables?
Why has no one done this yet?
Probably because
it's too innovative?
Yeah, it's too innovative. It's one of your better ideas for sure.
Okay, well, we're going to workshop
We need to start a list on our website of all of your amazing ideas.
Standing banquet tables.
That will be number one for sure. Everybody wants to stand around in their heels and nice dresses.
Well, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And you could stand in place. It's good for your posture.
Obviously.
Right?
Yep.
And, I don't know if it's good for digestion. Probably not, but maybe. I don't know. But you saved a ton of space. You could do like standing tables rounds.
Okay, I think we should stop the standing table conversation.
King tables, standing, of course. Farm tables, standing. Come on, this is great.
I mean, I love a good tall like farm table, but it should have like stools, not standing. Sorry, I hate to break it to you. Standing time is cocktail hour time, not reception time.
Right, but like that.
All right, so on that note,
how much time could you save to get to the dance floor?
This has to be probably one of your most random ideas.
That's incredible because I have so many.
So many.
So many. But you never know. It might turn into a whole wedding resource for couples.
All you know. Exactly.
Who knows?
Who knows? It's a good thing you got those random ideas.
It is. Even if it doesn't work 99.9999% repeating the time.
Like standing guest tables. Guys, don't listen to these. Don't listen to this recommendation. Okay. This is not.
It's going to be a trend. Just you wait.
Okay, we'll wait.
Okay.
So.
But just not today.
Back to legitimate trends and floor plans.
Yes. So, floor plans, it's something that I don't know. I wouldn't think most couples would even think about it. I wouldn't. I mean, you're a planner, but
I think
so
a lot
you
of
probably
people,
did. But
I think a lot of people don't think about it.
Yeah.
Because they don't necessarily. I think it's one of those things that you just kind of like assume gets done. But that's not always the case. If you're getting married at like a full service venue in the sense of like a hotel or something like that, they'll probably have some standard stuff that you could use. I mean, a lot of places have like standard things that have been done there before, but it makes a big difference in the flow of your event and the style of your event, and like actually in like the design of your event.
Yeah.
So it's actually one of my favorite things. It's probably one of my favorite things to do for clients because it makes such a big impact.
Yeah. And also like you love design and that's just fun for you.
I do.
So before we get into some of the things that we want to touch on, so venue is usually one of the very first, if not the first, vendor categories that you go to book.
True.
You're usually at this stage, you're not quite as ramped up as you would like to be and as you will be in terms of like your education of how to plan a wedding.
Right.
When you walk into a venue, I mean, how should couples be thinking about that? Because if the venue tells you, oh yeah, we can get 125 guests in here with standing banquet tables, but seriously though, like every wedding's different and table size is different. And if you're not communicating that you want, a farm table or king's table or all those different things, how would you recommend couples going in at the very, very beginning, kind of think about this?
If you don't have a planner, so obviously if you have a planner, that's a great resource.
Sure, of course.
But if you don't have a planner, I would think if you have specific ideas of how you want your floor plan to lay out, to ask the venue maybe for some sample floor plans is a good starting point.
Yeah.
Especially if like you really want a king's table or you really want all rectangle tables or whatever it is. I would also find out what kind of tables they have that like I would ask them for floor plans with whatever equipment they have on site. Not saying that like you can't bring in other equipment. Obviously you can, like other tables. Most places have rounds, 5-foot rounds, 5 or 6 foot rounds. So if you like love square tables, then it's good to know up front, like that's going to be an additional cost. So I would ask for those sample floor plans of like what they have on site or what they've seen work really well, and use the venue as a resource because they work there every weekend. So they do know best.
Do venues normally kind of offer that up? And that's just my lack of knowledge in that?
No,
No.
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something you would probably have to ask for. Now, not all venues do the floor plan, so not all of them are going to have something like that either. So it just kind of depends on the type of venue that you're booking.
Or just hire a planner.
Or just hire a planner and they'll do it for you too.
That you found on Bustld.
That you found on Bustld.
Yeah.
Shameless plug.
Oh,
we've been married too long.
Oh, man. We did just celebrate 8 wonderful years.
We did.
Yeah. Once you get past 8, it's just you just say the same words all the time. And
that's right. Something to look forward to.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So, getting back on where to get started besides my random musings. Where do I?
What would this show be without your random musings? It's a great question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So back to the real show.
Yeah. So where do I get a diagram from? I guess you kind of already touched on that a little bit, right? You're going to get it from the venue.
Yeah. So typically the venue may have a diagram. Your caterer might have a diagram. If they work there frequently or they're the exclusive caterer there, they may have the diagram. Or if it's a new venue or they don't have a diagram.
Not traditional.
Yeah, it's not traditional. Then you may have to go out and physically create that floor plan yourself or with the help of a planner.
I have definitely driven you places where you went in with a tape measure.
Yeah.
To frame to come up with a diagram for the layout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot of work. So I would think about maybe hiring a professional for that.
Okay. So then so you have the diagram.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to draft it up?
So again, it kind of depends. Your venue may do it for you. Caterer may do it for you. Planner, if you have it, will definitely do it for you. Otherwise, you may have to do it for yourself. That's the other option.
What if you only have a day of or month of coordinator?
It depends. Sometimes that's included in the package. Sometimes it's not. So I'd make sure to ask about that.
But not always.
Not always. So I'd make sure to ask. And then I would also, ask them if they've worked there before, who's typically done the you're probably hiring them far enough in advance that you haven't even started thinking about the floor plan.
Right.
So I would ask them, who's done the floor plan in the past at this venue. Is it typically you? Is it typically the caterer? And a lot of times they can tell you okay, you're going to need me to do the floor plan here unless you want to do it yourself. So that's included in the package or that's extra or whatever it is.
Right. Okay. How do you start?
I would start by visiting the venue. So obviously you visited the venue in the beginning and you loved it and you fell in love and you booked it and all those good things. It might have been 4 to 6 months since you've been inside that venue.
You probably saw 5 different venues or whatever it is. Yeah.
So you might need just a little refresher. I'm sure it's, and you're looking at it from a different perspective, right? Like when you looked at it when you first walked in, it was like the feel and how you imagine the flow. And now you're looking at it in a way more tactical perspective. Yeah. So I would start with visiting the venue. Walk through, just talk about with your planner or the venue coordinator or the caterer or whoever's doing the floor plan, yourself, mom, whoever it is. Yeah. And just kind of think about the flow of where you want tables, think about where intro is going to happen through. So we need to make sure to leave room there for introductions to happen, where the station's going or the buffet, cake table, all of the little things that go into it, dance floor, stuff like that.
So, which leads to the next question is, what sort of information do you need to know when you are starting to build this out?
Your guest count. So go back and listen to our guest list podcast. I would overestimate here too. If you think you're going to have 150 to 175 people, go ahead and build the floor plan for 175. Then you can always reduce the number of tables later. It's way easier to reduce the number of tables than add tables. So approximate guest count, you need to know if you're going to have a band or a DJ. Band's going to take up way more room than a DJ is. And then I would have an idea of any kind of additional tables just so you can at least lay those out. So if you're going to have a cake table, a dessert table, if you're going to have escort cards, gifts, guest book, those are kind of some of the standard family table, stuff like that.
Sure.
You don't have to have those on your initial floor plan, but it is nice. That way, when you're estimating the number of linens and flowers and other things, you have a good idea of what you need initially. It's always good to kind of see big picture what you're looking to spend
Right.
and save money later instead of the reverse.
Yeah. No, you don't want to end up with standing tables.
You don't want to end up with standing tables, believe me.
Okay. So speaking of, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, but obviously we talked about, 5 foot, 6 foot rounds, but
And standing tables.
And standing tables, obviously. What seating options are there available to couples that maybe they haven't thought about before? Or just in general, but then also the things they haven't thought about.
Yeah, so you have your traditional rounds. That's probably your most standard
Right.
guest seating. For your, for the two of you, you have a couple of options. So you have a sweetheart table, which is just the two of you sitting at that table. It's traditionally a 3 or 4 foot round.
Mm-hmm.
You have a king's table, which is generally rectangle table.
I personally love those, and we didn't do that. And
Me too.
I've seen those a lot.
It's my favorite, actually.
Those are amazing, and
Yeah.
that's so good for the wedding party who have their plus ones, because they get to actually have dinner with their plus ones.
Exactly. So essentially what a king's table is seating on both sides. And you have everyone. So wedding party plus ones. Typically the kiddos, if they have kiddos, aren't included at that. Sometimes they are, though, and that kind of works too.
Right.
So you have seating on all sides. So it's not just a single-sided. And then you have your traditional head table, which is just, the two of you and wedding party seated on one side. That one's probably way less popular these days. We hardly ever have people do that. Probably like 1%. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot smaller. 5% maybe.
Yeah.
Not to say there's anything wrong with that. It's just less popular these
Yeah.
days than head tables.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I think what other tables did for guest tables, I forgot other two options for guests.
Yeah.
Rectangles, so traditional banquet tables is another option. Square tables are cool. Family style tables where they're like really, multiple rectangles combined together. That's really cool for like a more intimate family style event.
Yeah. Okay. So then in terms of, what to include, so what should go on the floor plan when you're building that out?
So of course, seating tables, that's your first obvious one. The band and DJs, how big of an area they need. Dance floor is a big one. Don't forget about making your dance floor big enough.
Right.
But also you don't want it too big either. So, think about that. Your bars. So if you're going to have an indoor and an outdoor bar, or, cocktail hour bar and a reception bar, or however many bars you need.
Yeah.
Your cake table, dessert table, if you're going to have guest book, seating chart, or escort cards, any kind of additional tables like that. But I would say you want to make sure, just a few tips, that your bar isn't right next to the door so that there's not getting clog there.
Yep.
And you also want to make sure your bar is near the dance floor. So that everybody can kind of have a drink and dance. It kind of gives you a little, keeps the party going.
I love when you see the bars that are kind of hidden, like behind like some cool fixture inside the venue.
Yeah.
Those are always fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
We have that at our wedding.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that the band or DJ is close to the dance floor because they're going to set that mood. I think it happens. I think people think of that with a band, so they don't always think about it with a DJ.
Right.
But that's also super important. You want your DJ to be close to your dance floor.
Yeah.
So just a few small tips.
So this is a little bit off, but the dance floor itself, and maybe this could be a whole topic, but how, like you said, don't make it too big, don't make it too small. I can visualize that. I could see where that would be problematic, but what do you usually recommend?
Yeah. So, you want to think about like how big your guest list is, and how many of your, guests are dancing and how it kind of just, depends on the layout too. So if it's like in the middle of tables, you want to make sure that you're not going to have to like scoot tables back. So those are the kinds of things you want to look at when you're actually creating your floor plan. Right.
And you need to have room for your 7-year-old cousin to break dance in the middle.
Obviously.
Right.
If you're having kids.
Yeah.
We'll link to that episode if you haven't listened to it yet.
Okay. So then other than, so all those things, like what else are we potentially forgetting here when it comes to your floor plan?
Yeah. So then everything else, right? Photo booth. That's another big one that actually people don't think about. Typically they need like a 10 by 10 space.
And they need electricity too.
Yeah. So that's like something that's super popular that takes up actually a decent amount of space.
Yeah.
If you're going to have like a memorial or family table or anything like that, an escort card table, favors, gifts, cards. I think I said that one. If you're going to do anything else like fun, like a donut wall or a champagne wall, which is my personal new favorite.
Yeah. So Lauren on our team has really gotten me excited about those. She had one of those at our Charleston launch event.
Yeah.
Those are really cool.
They're really cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're all about the champagne.
Yeah.
Donut wall, greenery wall, any other like installations.
Greenery walls are big right now.
Yeah. We have a really cool,
Sweet Plants
company on our site, Sweet Plants, that does
living
and faux.
Yep.
Greenery walls, which is really cool.
Super cool.
So anything else that's going to take up space. So if you're doing anything else like fun or different, just make sure you account for that in the initial floor plan, and you think about it with like worst case, like highest number of guests, so that things don't, get all wonky when your guest count goes up.
Yep. Okay. So then where should certain things go? So we kind of talked.
Oh man, I already jumped ahead. I'm sorry.
You kind of touched on a lot of these. We can just power through that.
I'll tell you. So I don't think I talked about like the head table. So sweetheart table, king's table, typically go in the middle, like in the center. I personally love, like, if you have a king's table, to be like literally in the middle of all your seats. Yeah. I think that works really nice since you have people on both sides. But then sometimes like the couple's back is to people, so they might not like that. So they might go more of like a head table style where their backs are maybe to like a wall, so everyone can see them. And typically that's how a sweetheart table is typically like the couple's back is to a wall and then they're like looking out on everyone. But you want them to be close to the dance floor. I would also make sure you put like friends and like younger guests near the dance floor. You don't want like grandma like sitting right next to the speaker from the band and like she can't even sit at her table.
She can hear better now.
No, she can not hear at all now because it's so loud. And then like other things like your escort card should be like near the entrance. If you have a seating chart, I always love putting that at cocktail hour. That way people can kind of leisurely see where they're gonna sit.
Everyone wants to know.
Everyone wants to know immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah.
So having that at cocktail hour is a good place for that.
Okay.
Anything you want people to like really take time to look at is good to have at cocktail hour, like guest book. You can always move it into your reception, but cocktail hour, there's like not really anything going on besides like eating and drinking. So it's like good to like kind of captivate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then let's hop into some pro tips,
okay,
which is what you're all about.
All right, let's do it.
Which would be a good segment. We should think about doing that every time. Just random pro tips.
Okay, I like it.
Okay.
Right.
You ready?
Yeah.
Maybe? No? Okay.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right. So, so who should sit where? And that's got to be touchy.
It's definitely touchy. Don't want to hurt feelings.
Right.
We talked about this on our guest list episode. So,
but mother-in-law is obviously going to sit between the couple.
Obviously,
right? Like that's where no,
yeah, something like that.
Okay.
So you have a couple of thought processes. You could do family side. So you could do like
strong side, left side. Like remember the Titans? No.
No, I don't.
No,
I don't know what you're talking about.
No one's going to get that reference either.
No.
Yeah.
Always with the football references.
I know. And I need to think about who our listeners are.
So back to my point.
Jeez. Come on, Ryan.
Come on, Ryan. So you could do family side. So you could do, couple, bride side on one side, groom side on the other side. You could mix it up and do, maybe all family on one side next to each other. You can kind of do it however you want, but keep in mind some of your older guests may like be offended if you put them in like the back corner or like in another room. So I would put like, kind of think about that. Make sure family is like close to the dance floor, close to you guys. And then maybe like your friends or coworkers, if you have like a separate room or like, a little further out, that's where I would put those people. Okay. But I would keep, if you're not doing a head table, I would make sure you keep bridal party and their significant others close to each other.
Okay. How do you number the tables?
As logically as possible.
Is table 2 going to be upset that they're not table 1?
No, I don't. Well, maybe. I don't think people care about that, but maybe they do.
It's
hard to say. 1. Yeah. But I would say as logically as possible. So typically your head table doesn't necessarily have a number. If it does, then it's usually number 1, obviously. But then I would number like around the room. So like number 2 would be next to number 3, next to number 4, etc. So I kind of just like go in a line. That way,
it's good for your vendor team.
It's good for your vendor team. It's good for your guests, though.
Yeah.
Like when your guests walk in, if they see table 7, they know table 8's, you know, to the left or right. In theory, you don't want table 7 to be next to table 12, and then your guest is like, "Where's table 8? It's around here somewhere," and that just creates confusion. And I'm all about just like make it as simple as possible and keep the flow.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good quote.
I like it.
Yeah, that was good. I like it. Okay, so what's the best seating style? We kind of hit a little bit.
It depends,
of this, but
is the answer. It depends on what you want out of your event. I think family style tables are really cool and really intimate. So that's like a great way. I mean, we went to a wedding out in like a vineyard and I had family style tables and it was perfect for that style of wedding. You know, it might not work as well if you have 400 guests in a ballroom and it's really hard to navigate around those tables.
Right.
So, you know, think about the flow of the day. A king's table, you know, is great for more of like a traditional feel, where you have like all your bridal party together, you know, with like a little modern twist on it.
Yeah. Like standing tables? No,
we're not going back to standing tables.
Okay. We'll think about
We'll
it.
revisit it.
Right.
I personally love it when you mix up your tables, you know, and you have just like a little bit of difference in style around the room. So rounds, rectangles, square tables are really cool. You don't see those a lot. So I love it when people mix in square tables. I just think it creates a little bit of like a dynamic flow to that. So that's what I recommend.
Okay, perfect. So as far as, you know, kind of in closing, as always, what are the best next steps for our couples?
You want to start by scheduling a walkthrough. That was that first step that we talked about at the beginning, at your venue, just to see it again, think about it from logistics points. I would think about the style of tables that you like. So I would start with the list of what your venue provides, if they provide anything, and then look at budget. You know, do you have the budget to bring in additional tables, and what does that look like? And then think about like the other things you want in the room, like the photo booth or the champagne wall, which is always a good decision. So make sure you keep those things in mind. Obviously, your guests are going to be the first priority, getting them seated, and then keep in mind how much room you have left in the venue.